Hello again. Welcome back to the Bernie Show channel here on YouTube. As you know, I think, anyway, I am Bernie Miklasz and really happy to be doing these for you. Thank you again for all the wonderful support. It's really been incredible. So bigger and better. I got some ring lights. I got the ring lights. Step by step. Cardinals aren't taking any steps, that's for sure. They lose a tough series to the Dodgers. No one's surprised there, but they lose 2 out of 3. And could have won the series yesterday, but they scored 1 run. And we know the Cardinals have a terrible offense, 14th in the National League. There's only 15 teams, so when you're 14th in the National League and runs scored, pretty bad. No surprise there, nothing new there. So the postseason picture is pretty dark. It's not even cloudy. It's very dark. The Cardinals trail the Milwaukee Brewers in the NL Central by 11 games, season high. And they're now 5 games out on the wild card spot for the number 3 spot, but they've got the Mets and the Giants ahead of them even before you think about getting to number 3. They got to get past those other teams. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about today, I've touched on it before. In short, the Cardinals are a very dull baseball team. You know, a lot of their pitchers are very similar in style. It's a team that doesn't hit for power. It's a team that doesn't steal a lot of bases. I mean, there's not a lot of home runs. There's not a lot of doubles. They are brutal, just brutal at hitting with runners in scoring position. So where's the excitement? You know, Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado, we all know about the aging curve and the decline that's related to that. They're not going to get any younger. They're probably not going to get much better, except here and there a little bit, right? So you have a situation where, how did this happen? I think the obvious reason how this has happened, and we're only talking about position players. We're only talking about the offense. But if you, and I got to go to my list here, think about what a poor job the Cardinals have done in terms of drafting and developing all-star caliber position players. Now, listen, they've developed some nice players who didn't make an all-star team. I'll give you an example, like when Colton Wong was here, right? He won a couple Gold Gloves or whatever, and he wasn't great, but he got fairly good offensively, but he wasn't an all-star when he was with the Cardinals. That's my point. So if you look at it through that lens, and again, I'm not talking about young players who came from another organization in a trade or such. This is guys the Cardinals either signed internationally or drafted, developed, all of that stuff inside the organization. And I was looking at my list today, and listen, I'm not including Pujols and Molina in this because, again, this pertains to this year's team and why the offense is so dull, right? So that's why, of course, Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina were drafted and developed by the Cardinals, and they played in 1 million All-Star games. But we're not talking about them right now, all due respect. It's about the roster they have right now. The last time, if you go back, you'd have to go back to 2019 to find a drafted and developed position player from the Cardinals in the All-Star game. And that would be Paul DeJong in 2019. That's a long time ago already, isn't it? And then before that, you've got Matt Carpenter, and I'm talking about the younger, vital, really productive Matt Carpenter. He made 3 All-Star teams, 2016, 2014, 2013. Sorry, I had to check my list. A lot of names here. Then you'd have to go back to 2013 to add another guy. Alan Craig made the All-Star team in 2013. So, and then if you want to go back farther than that, Ray Lankford in 1997. I kid you not. So if you're wondering why, where's the spark? You know, where's the bang? Where are the stolen bases? Where's the action? Where are the thrills? It really hurts the team when you can't draft and develop all-star caliber position players. Now, listen, Mason Wynn is having a really good year. He could be an all-star caliber player. He wasn't this year, but I just wanted to, mention him, tip of the cap. He's a really fine player. Got a long way to go, though, till he reaches like that sort of perennial all-star status, right? So the Cardinals, adding to this, which makes it even more frustrating, is they had some guys that along the way, we all thought, or most of us thought, well, this looks like an all-star talent. This is good. Although Tyler O'Neill was not drafted and developed within, so I should scratch him from the list. But Harrison Bader looked like a guy that could get there. Dylan Carlson looked like a guy who could get there, but they didn't get there. That's the point. And again, O'Neill doesn't even count, but he didn't play in an all-star game anyway. But let's talk about who they have now. And Tommy Edman, good player. Never made an all-star team, but that doesn't mean change the fact he was a good player. But he was not an all-star caliber player. Maybe that was more a reflection on the system than anything else. But look at who they have on the team now. Jordan Walker, Nolan Gorman, Lars Nootbaar. We looked at those three guys and we're thinking, well, there's a lot of talent there. We could see them making a few all-star teams, right? Well, I don't have to tell you what's happened there. I don't have to tell you how bad those guys are, really. It's unfortunate. Jordan Walker stalled out. Gorman has stalled out. Nootbaar has stalled out. Do they have the talent to sort of get back on track and make it to an all-star game? Yeah, they do. But as time goes by, you become less and less confident of that, right? So the Cardinals have had a ton of all-star players, and we're talking about position player all-star players, a lot of them. But here goes list number 2. But so many of them came from the outside. So many of them were acquired through trades. Maybe, I don't know if there was a free agent on this list or not. It doesn't matter. But the point is they all came from the outside. And in this is no particular order as far as prestige. I was just looking up the names to make sure I had them all. Here are the all-star players that came from outside the organizations and then became all-stars as Cardinals, in some cases multiple times, obviously. Jim Edmonds, Scott Rowland, Matt Holliday, Edgar Renteria, David Freese, David Eckstein, Johnny Peralta, Carlos Beltran, Rafael Furcal, Lance Berkman, Ryan Ludwig, and Mark McGuire. If you want to go back, even more years, you could put Jack Clark on there and Ozzie Smith and the immortal Felix Jose. Remember him? He came over from the A's when the Cardinals traded Willie McGee there in 1990. I believe that was the year, or 1991. So, and then there are other trades that went poorly. The Cardinals went out to try to get an all-star caliber player, for example, in Marcell Ozuna before the 2018 season. Well, they paid a steep price. As it turned out to be a really bad trade because the Cardinals gave up a future Cy Young Award winner in the National League, Sandy Alcantara. And in that trade also to Miami, although he was later moved to Arizona, as you know, Zach Gallen, who has been an all-star pitcher and a guy that has pitched in a World Series. So Ozuna wasn't that all-star that the Cardinals thought they were going to get. He's made the all-star team since he signed with Atlanta as a free agent. He was 2 years and done here, and he was okay. He was good, but he wasn't great, and he was disappointed. Remember the day where he didn't show up at the ballpark for an afternoon game? Slept in, I guess, and they benched him. I mean, wow. So you say, well, Bernie, you got to be fair here. Yeah, I do. What about Goldschmidt and Arenado? They traded for them, and that worked out pretty well because they didn't really give up anything. True. But we're talking about the year 2024, and let's talk about their overall impact. Now, 2022 was fantastic. Goldschmidt won the MVP award in the National League. Arenado finished 3rd. That was something to be proud of, and that was something to point out and say, you know what? Those were 2 great trades. But if we're talking about a team that is dull in 2024, a team that doesn't have a lot of life or vigor or consistency offensively, Goldie and Arenado are obviously a big part of the problem. And this is such a cliche, so forgive me, but their best days are gone. They are well into the decline phase, right? I think with Arenado, the decline phase started sooner than anyone expected, but that's the point. You never know. Every player is different. So 2022 could have been a killer season for the Cardinals because that's when Pujols was back. My gosh, they scored runs, they hit for power. I mean, everything was in place, except they got beat 2 straight in the wild card series by the Phillies after giving away game 1. So what, as of right now, like what are the legacies or the joint legacy of Arenado and Goldschmidt together? They became teammates in St. Louis in 2021. Cardinals go to they go to the wild card game. They lose to the Dodgers. The offense was terrible. Neither one of these guys did a thing in that game. Then fast forward to 2022. Again, Phillies, wild card series. Cardinals won the division title. Those guys, Arenado, Goldschmidt, were fantastic that year. They did nothing in the two games that they lost to Philly. So as of now, and listen, this team ain't going to make the playoffs this year. And in fact, if anything, they're well on their way to their second consecutive losing record, which would be the first time by a Cardinals team in a full season since 1958-59, right? So what would be their combined legacy as teammates in St. Louis? It would be making the playoffs twice, and it would be 0-3 in the postseason. So they made impact in 21 and 22 as individual players and as a tandem, absolutely, but ran out of gas. They're not the same. So the best possibility of having a deep run postseason team with those guys as your nucleus, sadly to say, again, I think there's sunset. You know, the peak hours are gone. It's the sun is setting, at least in the idea of those two as a tandem leading the Cardinals to the promised land, or at least to an NLCS, right? So I don't know what to say other than what I've already said, but when you swing and miss and swing and miss and swing and miss in terms of drafting and developing players, figuring, okay, these guys we believe will emerge as nucleus players, all-star caliber players that will lead us forward when Goldie and Arenado are gone or they're old or whatever. But it just hasn't happened. Again, anything's possible, but you got to be discouraged right now with Jordan Walker and Lars Nootbaar and, of course, Nolan Gorman. I'm fans of all these guys. But the Cardinals, again, another subject that we should beat on. For some reason, they can't, once a player gets to the major leagues, a young player, they can't do anything to rescue them or save them or correct them or fix them or repair them when they hit into trouble or they run into trouble offensively in the major leagues. They start to spiral, and it's down, 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 down. I mean, this operation is just bad. It's so easy to blame everything on a hitting coach. I know this, but listen, you can't make one of these guys better. You can't make Dylan Carlson better. You couldn't have made Tyler O'Neill better. You can't make Jordan Walker better, even though he was really good as a rookie. What the heck has happened to Nolan Gorman? This coaching staff and manager, once a young player, we're talking young players, once they go bad, position players, once they go bad, they don't come back. Maybe that'll change with the three guys, Nootbaar, Walker, and Gorman. But I'm just saying, it is a really awful track record, and it doesn't bode well for the future as long as they have this current staff in place. It's very discouraging. But the Cardinals have failed to draft and develop all-star caliber position players, and they have failed to be able to get them up and back on track once they start to fail. Really, really discouraging. That'll do it for today. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow with another Bernie Show here on YouTube. Thank you again. Please subscribe, hit the like button, all that good stuff. We'll talk soon.